Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson. This is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
And tonight we will be reviewing the original, the Poseidon Adventure that was released in 1972.
Yeah, the original. There's, I think, another one was done in 2005 by the same name, which was loosely based on the same story.
In other words, guys, we are only reviewing the original
not
one, the newer one that came out many, many years later. Although we won't talk about that one. We're just talking about this one.
We're only going to talk about this one because this one we're reviewing. Because back in the 70s, they're doing lots of different disaster-type movies. They did the Towering Inferno, they did Earthquake, they did Poseidon Adventure, probably a couple of other movies in there as well. Airport was another disaster movie in the 70s.
In the making, it was a disaster movie where it deals with airport disaster stuff.
They did a halfway decent script and put a lot of well-known actors into it. And made a good movie. Yeah. Well, we think so anyway.
I like it in these old ones that they always bring in the major stars for that time.
Well, that's why they did it. They brought in these major stars who were well known to help bring the people into the theatre, the cinema, if you will, to buy the tickets to make some money for the production companies.
Yeah.
Now, having said all that, there we go. Like I said, Poseidon Adventure, 1972. American disaster film, produced by Irwin Allen. Now, Irwin Allen also did The Towering Inferno in 1974. Funny thing is that Irwin Allen's probably better known for his TV series he did. Now, do you remember what they were?
Let me see. Refresh my memory, Mike.
I think of things like with The Land of the Giants, Voyage Above the Sea, those sorts of things. He did those sorts of things on a shoestring budget.
Smart man.
Now he got a reasonably good budget, but still keeping an eye on the dollar, and made some pretty sterling movies, especially this one and Towering Inferno.
I read somewhere that John Williams, who worked on a few of his TV productions, he also worked on the Towering Inferno's music score for that too.
Now, talking about music, before I get into everything else, there's a song called The Morning After. Maureen McGovern did it. She was not actually. This movie was the first movie to actually have that song in it, sung by somebody else. Carol Lindley was mouthing the words, but it was dubbed. And a year or two later, I believe, Maureen McGovern made a real recording of it for commercial release, possibly about the same time as The Towering Inferno came out, and she got a cameo in it. She was the singer in the band.
Yeah.
So,
Mike, we were rewatching it the other night, the Towering Inferno one, and Mike remarked about how her acting was very stiff in that.
Well, she's not an actor.
She's not an actor.
But the funny part, I also said that soon as the shit started happening with the fire and everything, who was the first one to disappear? The band. Didn't see him again.
I think that they went down the elevator.
We're just paid. We're getting out of here. Gone.
I mean,
interesting.
Which makes sense when you think about it.
Anyway, I go through my usuals. Produced by Irwin Allen, directed by Ronald Neame, screenplay by Sterling Silliphant and Wendell Mays, based on Poseidon Adventure, 1969 movie, book by Paul Gallico. Now, here's a part I always like looking at. Budget, $4.7 million. Box office, $125 million. I think you could actually say, without doubt, this was a successful movie when it comes to box office and possibly home media as well.
Yeah.
So, having said that, why do some critics bag it?
Beats the hell out of me.
The people who went to the theatre, the cinema, liked it, and they paid their hard-earned cash to go see a fine movie.
Yeah,
so,
and it doesn't cover video or DVD release.
Well, it does mention but see, I'm only reading this from when this was actually printed, so since then, it's achieved cult status, and it's probably made a lot more money as well. So, who knows? I won't say too much more. It had two releases. It had a release in 1972 and went really, 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 really good. And it was reissued in 1974. And it was number one at the box office the first week. Again, second time around. Must have been very popular.
Mm-hmm.
So despite what some of the critics say, which I might mention later on, they haven't got a clue what I'm talking about.
No. But then again, Mike, you did bring up a point about there was some, apart from this one, there was the Terra Inferno and the airport one and the earthquake one that were coming out all at once. Yep. And at the time, they probably thought...
no, they weren't coming out all at once.
Well, maybe not all at once, but coming out at different years. And
it's like the Marvel movies, or you don't like those.
Yeah, it's like the Marvel movies where you see one Marvel movie and then you see in the following year another Marvel movie, and then the following year another sequel to that said Marvel movie you watched 2 years ago. And then it goes on and on until you want something else.
I like them. I'm waiting for the Master Manhunter to show up.
I'm getting sick of it. But then again, anyway, we're going for a formula at the moment, so
if people want to see it, they're going to make the movies.
Yeah, the problem with formulas is you can't know which one's the likely ones to enjoy, and others you just want to avoid.
Let's set the Wayback Machine back to early days of filming Universal Studios. Mm. They brought in Frankenstein, Dracula, and the Wolfman. Mm-hmm. They ran them for about a decade. Mm. And when the novelty of it was starting to dry up, they stopped making them. Mm-hmm. The same thing here. The Marvel thing, as long as people want to see them, and they'll keep making the movies.
Yeah.
End the story. And then they'll get to the stage where, okay, we're not getting the bums on seats anymore, so let's do something else. See, that's what's going to happen. Yeah. It happens all the time.
Yeah, and then this is I'm going to bring up this sort of thing that's not connected to this movie, how some of the theatres at this point are trying to make an extra dollar by charging per seat. Front seats, middle seats, and the back seat. And they did it years ago, and they're trying to bring it back. So even though this stuff is okay for theatre, like if you're going to a musical or a stage play, that they have a right to do that. But when it comes to theatres, like if you go to ordinary cinema theatre, and you find yourself, that you find your seat that you booked is covered in popcorn because the cleaner has not cleaned it. Now, therefore, you decide to move to the next one.
You're not allowed to.
And then you're not allowed to.
Take your own vacuum cleaner. There you go.
Then, and not to mention, most of the time these cinemas, they're not full up to the brim like they used to.
What I'm going to say is, back in the olden days, some of you older listeners might remember this if there are any old ones out there, the old standalone cinemas used to have front stalls, the middle section, back stalls, side seats, the tandem seats where you can sit there for your girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever, and have a snuggle, and what we used to call in Australia dress circle state, which is upstairs, or dress circle. Not dress circle state, dress circle, which is at the mezzanine level, so you didn't have any heads in your way, so you can get a good view of the film. Now, that's great. And you paid to go up there a little bit extra. You may have paid a little bit more to be in the middle, front row. Nobody wants to sit there unless you're really stupid because you get right strained, you can't see everything. And the back, well, unless you've got good eyesight,
and anyway...
Near the toilets.
The point is, it's okay in actual theatres if you're going to see a play or musical, or if it's for an airplane because you're charging for class and the right kind of chair.
Can I go through the cast now?
Okay, we'll go back to this movie. Sorry, guys.
The cast.
The cast.
Now, as with all these disaster films of their era, they had a lot of good actors in it. Now, here we go. Mm-hmm. Gene Hackman plays the Reverend Frank Scott. Ernest Borgnine plays Detective Lieutenant Mike Rogo. Uh-huh. Red Buttons, he's an old comedian way back then for some of you younger people. Mm-hmm. He plays James Martin. Carol Lindley, a beautiful little girl, plays Noni Parris. He's a singer in the band. Roddy McDowell, everyone knows him, Planet of the Apes and everything else. He plays Akers. He's a steward who works for the shipping line. Stella Stevens, he plays Ernest Borgnine's wife, Linda Rogo. Shelley Winters, everyone knows Shelley. She plays Belle Rosson. Jack Albertson plays Manny Rosson, her husband.
Yeah, I know him, obviously, from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, he played Uncle Joe. Yeah. Now, Pamela Sue Martin plays Suzanne Shelby. Now, I looked at her and said, "Gee, she's good looking." She was a model and she was 19 years old. Yes, she was a very good looking young lady. But I read somewhere she got into Nancy. Was it Nancy Drew I said before?
Yeah, Nancy Drew.
Yes, there must be a TV series soon thereafter, and she was playing the Nancy Drew TV series. So there you go. Arthur O'Connell plays Chaplain John. He had a short bit in it at the beginning.
Yeah, a very short bit.
He got drowned. Eric Shea plays Robin Shelby. He's Suzanne's little brother.
13 or 12-year-old.
Precocious little brat. Didn't like him at all.
Well, I kind of find his information very useful.
No, he's a little smart-ass. But he had an attitude.
And the most likely person who had the lowest being noticed in this movie is Leslie Nielsen, who plays Captain.
At the beginning. He went down the ship early in the piece.
Yeah, so he kind of had... he only appeared in Act 1.
Yeah, well, the first 5-10 minutes of the show or something, yeah.
Yeah, so the rest of the time we follow around the survivors who are trying to get out.
Ooh. Okay. Do you want to start telling the story before the people go to bed?
Okay, we're on a boat, rocking back and forth.
I need seasick pills.
Yeah, and some people are getting seasick. And I know you're probably thinking, rocking back and forth, you're making me sick now. So go to the toilet before you listen to the rest of the review.
Ginger pills were quite nice. Yeah.
Anyway, it's very rocky. It's very windy.
They're going through a storm, okay?
Yes.
Just
and people have got seasick.
A lot of people seasick. And then it calmed down the next morning.
And then it calms down, and everyone makes plans for the new year. Like, they're going to celebrate that very night.
Big party and everything.
A very big party.
Yeah.
And the Reverend Scott, who's going to do his daily mass or whatever and he does it very spiritually or free spirited.
He has a what's the word I'm trying to look at? He's not your standard sort of pastor or minister.
Yeah.
He makes up some of the stuff as he goes along. It's more like, instead of saying God will provide, it says, get off your bum and do it yourself, and God will give you a hand, maybe, Yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah, there's an old saying I heard years ago: God helps those who help themselves, and he's pushing that, but a little bit stronger. Yeah.
Of course, he's all for that. Yeah. So anyway, the night of festivities begins. Everyone is having fun. The captain and some of his officers are at the party. Sometimes the captain would go to these things.
They have the captain's table, and some of the guests are allowed to sit and talk to the captain over a meal. Yes.
Of course, they have their own Bruce Esme, amongst the group, who's this Poseidon, the boat, had several different trips, and it's doing really well, but this is their last voyage.
This is the last trip over a good 70 years of travelling, and this guy, whatever his name is, I didn't get his name down here.
I call him Bruce.
Bruce. He is an arrogant white-collar worker who says, I want to get this boat to its destination as fast as possible, because the wrecking crew is waiting, and they're on standby, and it's costing us thousands of dollars a day just waiting for you guys to show up. So he had an attitude problem, so let's full steam ahead, damn the engines, blah, 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 despite what the captain says. It's funny
that has never happened before.
Titanic had the same problem. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, so he had no choice but to throw up his shrug his shoulders and just say, okay, hell with it, it's your boat, to hell with it. So they do that.
They're chugging away merrily.
The party and festivities are starting, and it's getting close to midnight. Everyone's celebrating.
They're getting ready to do they'll do an Auld Lang Syne when the disaster occurred.
And then suddenly this big wave starts coming out.
It's called a tsunami.
A tsunami wave starts approaching the boat, and the captain, who does something a bit ridiculous.
He got the toilet paper out and wiped his... No.
He turns the boat. He tries to turn the boat.
He tried to turn the boat and head into it so it'd do less damage. Didn't have enough time.
Yeah, big boat, it's as big as the Titanic, even though I'm not sure how big it is.
Smaller than the Titanic.
Okay, but it looks like
a three funnel job,
Yeah. Anyway, so it starts ricocheting and starts turning and everyone inside starts, turning with the boat, crashing, flipping over. The captain, his crew who were in the captain's house, they die first.
They probably died straight away from the volume of water going through the bridge.
Yeah, and everyone. So soon enough, the boat is turned on top, upside down, and everything's pretty much a mess. Anyway, the few remaining survivors are still in the dining room, obviously, and the only officer there says that they'll stay there until help arrives.
Well, considering there's no one there to help them.
Considering that the help is
all
dead, there's no point in sticking around. Anyway, so the Reverend Scott decides to try to get the few willing ones to get out of there.
To follow him to go up to where near the propeller shaft is the top of the boat, the bottom of the boat, which is now the top of the boat.
Yeah, he listens to the little boy who's Robbie, he's been talking to members of the crew and officers
and staff and other people,
and they've told him about bits and pieces of the boat. So,
and the metal on the bottom of the boat, just near the propeller shaft, is only about 1 inch thick instead of being 2 or 3 inches thick in other places. So if anyone's going to cut them out, that's the place to be cut out from.
Exactly so. Yeah. So, of course, they decide they'll have to climb out. So they had to use the Christmas tree. They use a very large Christmas tree to climb out.
A metal framed one.
Of course, some of the people didn't refuse to go with the Reverend's idea of getting out on their own. They think that help was on the way. The officer, you believe the officer? I'm not sure. And of course, there's another preacher, a reverend there, who says that he's there. He'll look after the injured there, of course.
Yeah, spiritually and physically. Yeah,
Yes.
as much as he can, because he had no idea he was going to die anyway. But
Yeah. So
he
anyway,
wasn't stupid.
Yeah. So they got a few people out, and of course the lady who's member of the band, the lady, what's her name? What's her name again?
Which name? Noni.
Noni, whose brother's dead, along with the other members of her band.
Yeah, the band died.
Yes.
They went out for bang.
Yeah, so she and the others, they head up to the Christmas tree. There was one lady who's the let's see, what's her name again? Belle, who's she's overweight.
It's a very very large frame lady, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Be nice.
And she and her hubby are hoping to go visit her grandson to probably try. And she even says a couple of times that she doesn't think she'll make it, stuff like that. Because anyway, so they get out to the top of the tree, and then suddenly we hear a rumbling, and then
the water starts rushing in.
Water comes rushing in.
So the people down the bottom who weren't going to come decided to come.
Yeah, they're about to climb up the tree, but there are too many, and then
a tree fell over.
Yeah, it did it exactly the same way they would have done in Taranferno, where
all panic,
and they climb onto the the chair and ending up dying instead.
Yeah, so in this case it was a Christmas tree. It fell over, and the ones on it probably got smashed by it. People waiting at the bottom probably got squashed by it, and then the leftover people got drowned by the water.
Yeah.
There you go.
So much for waiting for help to arrive, which was not going to happen. Anyway,
moving right along.
So moving right along, the crew, the remaining survivors, they continue through the wreckage. Yeah, wreckage.
Wood damage, because the balls were blowing up and different things, and yeah.
They go through it, and along the way, they meet a few little difficulties, like a few dead bodies, and had to swim through a bit of the wreckage to get to the next
corridors
side.
And different things, and
Yeah, of course, there was Scott decided to head to the next deck to find out if it's not blocked or anything like that. So he was going ahead while saying to the detective guy that if he doesn't arrive back in 10 minutes, then leave without him.
Go and follow the other people.
Before that, I should mention, they did see a few more survivors, but they're heading in the wrong direction, right? Mike, they were heading down to the bows?
Which would be underwater.
Yeah.
And he said, if you want to, you can follow them, but wait for 15 minutes before you go and follow them.
Yeah.
And so he said, okay, I'll wait 15 minutes. And they waited just a fraction over 15 minutes, and he came back, said, I found a way through.
Yeah.
Bam.
Yeah, they eventually do find it, and he uses a rope to swim to that area.
Yeah, they used the rope so they could guide the people through the underwater bit.
Yeah, of course, he gets kind of some of the metal jams against falls on him. Mm-hmm. And the lady, Belle, who says she's a swimming champion from when she was in her youth, takes the rope and she goes into the water and she helps him. And by the time they get to the other end, she dies of a heart attack.
Well, yeah, a bit of strain on the old girl, yeah.
And she tells him to tell her hubby. She gives him a necklace that was, I guess, the details of her time when she was a swimming champion, and hopes that her husband would give this information to her grandson and so that he knows what she was like. Anyway, they continue on, and eventually they soon arrive to their final destination, and this would require one of the survivors to pull on a red thingy wing to open.
Did you watch the movie?
Yes.
That where they were trying to get through the last boom blowing up of a boiler or something created a steam leak.
Yeah.
And there was a red handle to be turned to turn off the steam. And it would have been on the ground, obviously, but now it's up on the ceiling.
Yeah.
So Reverend Scott had to jump across and grab at the wheel and gradually turn up using his body weight.
Yeah, the detective's wife, who was an ex-prostitute, fell and died in the flames, and he was grieving over
And
her.
he was blaming the Reverend for loosening up this way.
And, of course, the Reverend gets up to... he gets on his high horse and says nasty things to God, saying, "How dare you let these people die? How many more people will die until you are satisfied?"
That sort of stuff, yeah.
And he gets onto the wheel and he starts turning it, and then soon enough the
steam stops. Yeah.
And he then asks the detective to lead them on because there's no chance for him to swing back and save his neck.
He can't swing back, and he's got steam's burned his hands, and he can't hang on any longer, and his hand slipped off the wheel and he fell into some fiery water
and died.
Some meters below him. There you go.
And so it's up to the detective. After a bit of encouragement from some of the survivors, tell him, go ahead, try to do this before we all die again. So he then gets into hero mode and starts leading them to the final part of where that thin metal thing we mentioned.
And they hear some noise.
We
on,
hear
on
rat
the hull.
tat on the boat.
A rescue team was up there, and they started banging away merrily.
And yelling
whatever
too.
they've had handy there. And these guys cut through an oxyacetylene torch, cut a panel, and took the survivors out and flew them to safely in a helicopter.
Yeah, one of them asked, were there any other survivors?
And I said, no.
And
they looked very sad.
Oh, yeah, they were very sad. Anyway, we then cut... Oh, there was a scene where the detective, as he was looking back, he was probably feeling a little bit sad that he kind of was annoyed with the Reverend, and the fact he was not really nice to his wife. Who I think he did love her, but he was so... in a communistic kind of way, he kept on objecting to all their plans throughout the production.
He was arrogant,
yeah. He was...
But he loved her. Yeah.
He loved her, and he probably, in his own way, says thank you to the Reverend for leading them to their final destination to get away.
Lovely.
The end.
Cool.
We fade to black, or fade to blue, because that's the credits.
Whatever. Okay, I'm not going to drag this on too much, because it is what it is. Now, casting. Sally Kellerman was considered to play the role of Linda Rogo, Ernest Borgnine's wife. I know her name from somewhere. But Sheila Clark, the English singer, was supposed to be the singer, offered the job as a singer in the band. She's an English singer.
Okay.
Gene Wilder was going to be in one of the roles, one of the survivor roles.
Okay.
Burt Lancaster, you know Burt? Burt Lancaster?
Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah. He was offered the role to play Reverend Frank Scott, but didn't think the role suited him, so he didn't take it up. No, you got to. If it doesn't suit you, it's not your personality, not your style. Yeah.
Well, you're going to find people who may not find their interesting.
Burt was a good actor. He was in Birdman of Alcatraz and lots of other good movies in his younger days, and he's getting it. So he was in Airport.
Really?
The guy, the wife divorced him at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was Burt Lancaster. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I think sometimes these actors would be contracted to work for the same.
Well, they work at the same
production company.
studio, production company. Yeah, so they go for, hey, do you want a job? Nah.
Yeah.
You go for it. Yeah, try it. Nah.
Audition, whatever.
Whatever.
Sometimes they would
casting couch.
No, not always.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll take that back. Yeah.
I take that back too, guys.
And I don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's right.
I think
it does happen back in those days, and it probably still happens a lot.
Yeah, it's annoying.
As you hear in the media. So, yeah, it's not a good thing, but it's not a joke.
No, it's not a joke. No. I mean, I don't agree with under-the-table relationships.
Under the table?
You know, I know it means
sex
offers
for work.
Yeah,
it's not on the table.
I just think it's not really right.
Unless
both parties want a relationship, that's fine, and they feel comfortable with it out in open. Actually, that's fine too. But I don't agree with that type of relationship for getting work.
I think I read somewhere that Steven Spielberg, what he did, the Temple of Doom, that leading lady, I think it was her. He ended up marrying her after the movie, but I don't think he went out with her during the movie.
Well, no, it's understandable.
I think. I could be wrong.
I like it that they were in a relationship.
Yeah, but I don't think they were in a relationship during the movie.
I know. Yeah. But it's nice that they are still married to this day, from what I understand.
I think, if my memory serves me correctly. Now, I don't normally go into too many things, but John Williams, he's been around a lot longer than you think. He did the film score for it.
Haha, told ya.
Now, parts of the movie were actually filmed on a boat down in Long Beach, California, called the RMS Queen Mary. So they used that for some of the footage.
Yeah.
Obviously, when it wasn't upside down, I'd say.
I imagine that was all a soundstage. That they probably took photos of the Queen Mary and went back to the studio to mimic them when they had to do a turn of it. Before the
boat was actually flipped over, probably the bridge and the dining room and other things they did, people walking on deck, those sorts of things might have been done, and then did the rest on soundstage.
Like the parts with the bathroom scene where you see the toilets hanging upside down.
That'd be really hard to pee that high.
And the barber chair, which I mentioned, they did have a barber thingy there, and they probably had to, use their imagination of what it would look like upside down, because the tools on the barber thing would have fallen onto the ceiling, and then all the drawers may have flipped over, emptied out because of what happened, because of when the boat turned.
Now, here we go. The song, here it is. I said notes on the song I mentioned before. The song, The Morning After, written by Al Kasher and Joel Hirschhorn, won the 1972 Academy Award for Best Original Song, right? At the 45th Academy Awards in March 1973. Okay, it was performed in this film by Renee Armand, dubbing for Carol Lindley. A version of The Morning After was performed by Maureen McGovern, became a hit single in 1973, and Towering Inferno came out in 1974, and she had the cameo in it.
See?
There you go. What a small world.
Yeah, anyway, I imagine at the time, it's just like what Mike said before about the Marvels and the Universal monster classic movies. They were all going through a formula.
They have a period, and they will go, churn these out. Okay, we need something new now. Let's make something new. So, anyway, here we go. Reviews.
This is going to be good.
No, must be good. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 81%.
That's good.
Quite favourable. They don't really say too much because obviously
of course not.
It's just independent people doing it. Metacritic, they gave it a score of 70. Now, Roger Ebert. I don't like backing him. He's passed away.
I can't watch.
He gave the film 2.5 stars out of 4, and called it the kind of movie you know is going to be awful, and yet somehow you got to see it.
Yeah.
Does that sound like a contradiction? It's a crappy movie, but I got to go see it. Right.
I don't know if I don't know if he likes it or he hates it.
I know. It's okay.
Or both.
A guy A.H. Well for New York Times wrote, though tensions slacken and credibility is strained here, realistic technical effects make the stricken ship and the efforts of its survivors to escape a fairly spellbinding adventure. So stop going, oh God, when I start talking, okay?
Okay.
Right? Just for once. Mm-hmm. Variety call the film a highly imaginative and lustily produced mellow. I don't know what a mellow is.
What's a mellow?
I don't know what a mellow is. With some of the most exciting sequences seen in years. Gene Siskel, where is he from? Washington Post? I can't remember. Gene Siskel gave the film 3 stars out of 4 and wrote, the film's technical excellence, special effects, production design, and the stars doing their own stunts. Which does not happen an awful lot.
Just a lot
So that lady swimming underwater, fat lady, what's the name? Yeah, whatever.
Well, no one can actually do a stunt double of that.
No, but you can even another big person to do the job. But the point is, they get a man doing it, dressed like a dress. But she was actually swimming underwater, and then she's an older lady and carried a lot of weight, and she did her own stunt. So,
right.
And everybody else did. Okay.
Well, it wasn't CGI back then.
No, stunt doubles. CGI. Charles Chamberlain, Los Angeles Times, wrote that the special effects, the genuinely remarkable production values and technical wizardries sweep everything else aside. Are the characters as gaudy and thin as cereal boxes? ? Is the dialogue banal and shrill? ? Is the moralising heavy-handed and relentless? ? Is Hokum a bit thick even in the context of showmanship special? ? Well, yes, but who cares? He's saying in a funny way it's a good movie.
He's weird.
Gary Arnold, Washington Post, wrote the film was strictly formula hokum, but reasonably diverting if one doesn't ask for more than the filmmakers care to give. That is, for imaginative writing and direction. As usual, only the special effects and set designers and the stuntmen have been permitted to be playful and creative. I think that's unfair because this part here, the stunt people, well, these people are doing their own stunts and carrying the movie. Other people think, hey, the actors did a good job. So, I think Gary Arnold's wrong. Anyway.
Yeah, some people are stupid.
Having said all that, TV premiere. I don't normally do this bit. When the film made its network television premiere on the ABC on October the 27th, 1974, it earned a Nielsen rating of 39%, I gather, or 39, and an audience share of 62%, making it the 6th highest rated film to ever air on network TV. So yeah, it's a damn good movie. Everyone likes it, and there was a bucket load of awards I'm nominated for. They won quite a few. Shelley Winters won one. Best Supporting Actress, Gene Hackman won one. Other things, song there, we won something. Best Sound Editing Dialogue won. Lots of nominations for different things. Everything was positive with this movie. You can't do much better. I think it's excellent for what it was. One of several, half a dozen maybe, disaster films of its time. It's one of the better ones. Yeah, it has to be.
I agree.
And I've seen them all.
Nah, we've seen them
I've seen all the airport movies. I've seen Earthquake. I've seen Terror.
Well, I haven't seen Earthquake yet. But we'll check that out eventually.
Charlton Heston's that one, I think. Yeah.
I'll check that out next time, obviously.
Actually, I'm looking for one like that where actually a building actually sinks into the ground. I don't know what it's called. It's something like Earthquake.
Quicksand?
No. There's an earthquake or something, and the building actually sinks. And they've got to go down into the building, into the ground to save people out of the building so many metres down. Yeah.
I see.
Don't know what it's called. If anyone knows what the movie's called, I want to get a copy of it and review it maybe. Now, here's a couple of bits, little tidbitty things.
What was the year when it came out?
What?
That particular earthquake movie with the building sinking into the ground.
I don't know. If I knew what it was, I wouldn't be asking people to tell me.
I'm just trying to narrow it down.
I don't know. It's a building. Actually, the building, skyscraper, apartment block, actually sinks down in the ground during an earthquake or something or other. I don't know what it's called.
Okay, go back to what you're saying.
Now, back here again. a couple of things. Okay. The Golden Raspberry Award founder, John Wilson's book, the official Razzie Movie Guide, has listed as one of the 100 most enjoyably bad movies ever made. Now, that's a plus. And it's so bad it's good sort of thing. Yeah.
I hate when people often say it's so bad it's good.
No, they're looking for something else in the movie, but it's still good. Now, well, any advertiser is good. Now, everyone knows Mad magazine, Alfred E. Newman. Okay, right. Mad's September 1973 edition satirised the movie, the Poop Side Down Adventure. Its cover was the first Mad cover not to show Alfred E. Newman's face. He's normally on the face dressed up as other characters or something or other. Or instead, he's shown floating upside down with only his feet in sight jutting out from the SS Poseidon life preserver. And I gather that was one of the best-selling magazines in history for the Mad magazines. Interesting trivia, hey. Actually, it might be worth something too. Now, I will talk about availability now, and then we'll do the grading. But I will say one thing. If you go hunting for it, being an oldie, you might find it on a VHS or a Laserdisc, unless you've got a VHS player or a Beta player or a Laserdisc. Be careful, okay? Now, having said that, also there is another movie of the exact same name, dated, produced and released in 2005, has exactly the same name. Be careful.
Yeah, as I said before, guys, look at the date.
And the actors.
The
main actor is Gene Hackman. Yes. Ernest Borgnine's probably the second main actor. Shelley Winter's in there.
Yeah.
Probably. So if you don't see those names, it's a wrong movie.
Yeah, you don't want to end up getting just the Poseidon movie. Put in the Poseidon movie and then find out you got the wrong movie.
So on Amazon, when I go looking for movies sometimes, I see people grumbling, oh, I got this movie and blah, blah, and it was a raw, it wasn't the right movie. Yeah. No, you ordered the wrong movie. Yeah. You know, don't blame Amazon that you bought the wrong movie.
On how sometimes people would put in the wrong names of movies.
Yeah, like Zorro.
And the wrong date, then they put that particular movie detail on YouTube, and they give the audience the wrong details.
If you put the word Zorro, Z-O-R-O, Z-O-O-O, okay, and put it in there, how many Zorro movies have they been made?
Probably a dozen.
The original ones, the one of Antonio Banderas. There's
Douglas
probably some
Fairbanks.
other ones. There's probably some other ones in other countries. And if you don't know the year, Zorro. It could be The Adventures of Zorro.
And the Disney one, don't forget that one.
Whatever. Zorro goes to Bali for a holiday. You got to get the right name, the right year, and dig a bit deep before I actually order something. And people are grumbling, I got the wrong movie. It's all Amazon's fault. I'm sorry. It's your fault for not actually reading about the going into a bit and making sure you got the right one. Yeah. And even sometimes I've had a movie of the same name issued on the same year. I think we saw one sometime, something like a Dracula movie, I think.
Yeah, it came out right around the time when Christopher Lee's version came out.
And two movies, similar name, same year.
Although I think that one that you're referring to, the not Christopher Lee one, that one was a TV direct-to-TV movie.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Still, when you're looking for it, you're hunting for it, you're going to be some crossovers. Oh, same name, wrong production. So be very careful. Now, here we go. eBay, plenty new ones and used ones for sale. Amazon, plenty for sale, and it's rentable. So there you go. I am going to give this, it's one of my favourites, so I'm going to be very, very, very nice. I'm going to give it 10.
I'm going to give it 9.5 out of 10 myself. I like the fact that they actually used a real boat for some of the scenes, and the rest of the time they would often they took the scales and the sketches and developed it back in the sets to reproduce it to see how it would look with when the boat would turn and suddenly crash around, all that stuff, like what all the stunts they did, the actors did throughout that scene. I mean, it was pretty impressive how they did that scene.
And considering a lot of there's no green screen back in those, or very little.
Very little.
And there's no CGI.
Didn't you say that the shots of outside the boat, the bits where the scale of it was it? You said it was a model, and when they did the bit with the tidal wave, that
that might be that model would have been the water might have been say several meters long. Say 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know. I haven't got any details on it. And what they do, they have a body of water, and they do it in slow motion, make it look like a big tidal wave, knock it over. That's how to do it. But it looks so real. I mean, some people say it's basic dialogue. What do you expect? Oh, a really deep and meaningful conversation? Let's do a sex scene? No, they're just trying to escape. Yeah, the dialogue is going to be pretty basic. But all the special effects, the storyline, everything else works really good for this movie.
When I thought about the Poseidon thing, I thought it was based off a real boat. Maybe not the bit where maybe the part with it being turned over would. Maybe some people could survive a boat being turned over in that situation and may survive if they got to.
I don't want to find out.
But I don't want to test that theory and work out if it would happen in real life.
I think one of the problems, it was part of the beginning of the movie. They said they didn't have enough ballast in it to make it bottom heavy. All right? And that might have contributed to the fact of the boat rolling over. If my memory serves me correctly, and I could be wrong here, that if the boat has the right amount of ballast in it and it gets in a situation like that, it might even self-right itself if it doesn't get too much water inside.
Oh, I see.
Because the way the bow would gradually turn it back over again. I think I could be wrong. Any sailors out there could make a comment. I don't know, but I heard that. I think I heard it somewhere. That's why I got ballast to make it stable. So the bottom is heavier, so it doesn't rock around too much.
Yeah. Anyway, I did feel bad that Leslie Nielsen only had one. He got to act in one. He
got to go home early.
In Act 1, obviously, and then we didn't see him again after that. Like, he's a wonderful guy and everything, but I just don't like it that he's been. I would have loved it if he did somehow took charge of the survivors, try to guide them away from the boat through the boats, I guess, sort of thing. But then again, we had that kind of guy at the party who just said, "Sit tight."
Well, he could have been a guy down there. I'm the captain. You follow me, but had the purser.
Yeah.
But the captain had to die. He would have been in the bridge, and all the windows got knocked out by the tsunami. So what do you do?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's kill it.
Anyway, so that's about it for us tonight, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you guys check out this movie. Remember the date and the actors we mentioned. Don't get confused with all the other Poseidon-related movies that just came out this year.
1972. It's the Poseidon Adventure.
Yes.
The main actors are as follows: Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, Red Buttons, Carol Lindley. Why don't you go on Wikipedia or IMDb and have a look before you go on to your Amazon or whatever to buy your copy.
Yes, so
get the right one.
Yeah. Point is, be sure and be careful what you buy online.
Yeah. Buyer beware. Aha.
So that's it tonight, guys. This is Sarah Stephenson
and Michael
saying, see you guys around on Boys and Ghouls. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.